everyone, and welcome. I'm James Milan, and this is a conversation that's part of our AIFF Presents series. AIFF, of course, stands for Arlington International Film Festival, that name I'm sure many of you are already familiar with, and a long-term partner of ACMi's over a number of years now. I am here with Rico St. Paul. Rico is a junior at Mass College of Art at the moment, and more importantly, for the moment, he is the creator of the poster that you can see right behind us, and that you will be seeing all over town and in the area in the lead up to the film festival, which is coming this fall. Rico, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
We really appreciate your being here. I'd love to start just by finding out what the origins of your artistic sensibility are, and I'll ask you to go right back to your high school years or before.
Okay. I guess the first memory I have about being inclined to art was from coloring books. I was so into coloring books with different crayons and the different designs, but I never drew them. And it wasn't until my brother recommended, he was an artist, he doesn't draw as much now, but he recommended to me that I draw the illustrations that I'm painting or coloring. And I was like, oh, I didn't know you could do that. And from there, I just started drawing all the time in high school. People knew me with my sketchbook. And I was just very consistent with art. And I very much appreciated the craft of designing. So that led me to mass art.
So this has been in you for a while, and you know, talking about the poster itself, I understand that this was part of a class project. Is that right?
April and Alberto from the Arlington International Film Festival, they came to our class, my experimental illustration class, and they suggested they had the proposition of a competition for us, and they wanted us to create a poster for their festival. And it was a big excitement because it was a competition. We could win cash prize and the recognition. So immediately when I heard about the opportunity, I immediately looked into my sketchbook, started thinking, started planning. I think I devoted a little bit too much time to this project, but it definitely paid off, and I appreciate that they gave us the opportunity to be part of their festival.
All right, and I know that the project went through a few different iterations for you, like you had one thing in mind initially, so take us through that process as well.
Definitely. So at first I planned on making a sculpture. From the experimental illustration class, we were working with different mediums, including different planes. So aside from doing two-dimensional work, we were working with three-dimensional photography, using Photoshop to edit and add on to that work. And I definitely love the process of using a three-dimensional form and then flattening it, but also adding more images and colors and textures. So with this project, I initially wanted to do a sculpture of, I called it to my friends an international rose bush. And it kind of just expanded from there. I used different found materials of wood, branches, yarn to tie it together. And the flowers are actually flags that I've made and bound to this branch object. And I was going to use that as the final image, but I didn't actually get to that point. For the critique of the object, for the poster, a lot of suggestions were to add more color, add more two-dimensional elements.
These were suggestions from classmates?
Yeah, my peers, and it was interesting because I was so excited for the project. I wanted to see their reaction, and there's so many different responses. So definitely, after I finished the sculpture, I went back into Photoshop, and I used different textures to overlay different colors to bring out the flowers and different levels and contrasts to work with the film that I incorporated. So it was definitely, I had an intention, and then I completely went in a different direction, but I'm really happy with the suggestions that they made because I would never had the product.
Right, exactly. This is clearly, as many pieces of art are, I think, a kind of a collaborative process, whether that's deliberate or not, or just simply the result of getting feedback, as you say, throughout at different steps in the process, and then incorporating that, figuring out what makes sense for you, the artist, to incorporate from that feedback. And in the end, you get something like what is right behind us, which is a thing of beauty and also successful competition winner.
Thank you.
So you've already alluded to a couple of the elements. You mentioned that you have, and viewers can see that there are flower images here in the poster. We can also see pieces of film incorporated there, and obviously a whole bunch of flags connoting the international aspect of the festival, which is always a very important message to convey visually to everybody who might be interested. So tell us about how these elements came together for you, and feel free to delve into whatever detail you'd like regarding the poster.
Definitely through this class, I evolved my process. I always liked using a lot of chaos in my artwork, but definitely, I'd say looking at this project as an opportunity to really fully indulge in experimental work. I didn't really know what direction it was going to look like at the end. Usually when I work, I have an idea and then I just let it grow and expand. So this is a perfect example where I had an idea to make a bush with flags associated and the film bound around as kind of shrubbery. And just I kept layering more and more digital images that I used with Photoshop. And I'm trying to think in terms of the individual elements. I used film images that I drew and I transposed them onto the image itself just to add a layer of depth because it was flattening a sculpture. So I want to bring back out that depth and the darkness of the film. I really wanted to make it powerfully recognizable. One of the issues in the critique was that it didn't really have the feel of a film festival. It was more of a very colorful floral arrangement, which I'm not too opposed to, but for the specific assignment, I was really suggested to push different elements, and pushing those elements, I used different mediums of micron pen to illustrate on top of it. But there's not really much elements, it's just a whole lot of chaos forced together.
I was going to say, it's a very, very dynamic image. I have had the privilege of seeing the posters for each year and often presiding over the award, the award festival, or I should say event. And so I've just had a chance to really kind of chronicle a form of evolution of those posters over time. And this is definitely one of the most engaging, visually engaging, and also, again, with a lot going on in it. And it seems like you can really, people are going to, notice it because of the colors and because of the contrasts within it, et cetera, but also that it's going to be the kind of thing that people can return to over and over again to find new bits and pieces to focus on.
Yeah. It's interesting. In Photoshop, there's something called blending modes. And sophomore year in digital illustration, I learned about using Photoshop to create these kind of textual abstractions. And I really was drawn to how chaotic it can be when you don't know what to expect. Usually I just have like an image and I just go through all the different multiplies and divides and divisions and subtractions. And I don't know what it's going to look like until it's finally there. And the way my process goes, I look at a piece and see how it's evolving, how it's living, and I try to give it what it needs. For the example, this project, I saw that it was it didn't have a lot going on, so I wanted to have these bright flowers bursting out, but also at the same time have a very interesting color palette. So just working through, I just experimented, kept adapting to the artwork itself as a living spirit, if anything. So it was really just like a conversation that I have with my artwork of what does it need to have, what does it need to look like, and letting it be, and not forcing it to be what I want it to look like, and just letting it live, I guess you could say.
And recognizing, you say that a lot of the times, and deliberately so in your artwork, you don't know where you're going necessarily, but I guess you recognize it when you get there.
Yeah, but it's interesting. I'm actually very, very specific about what I want it to look like from the beginning, and it just, doesn't work out in the end, but I'm just appreciative of it. For past works, I use Micron Pen to have very specific calligraphic lines and very small details, but at a certain point, I can't control it. You know, at a certain point, I just let it. If I make a mistake, I just let it be. So.
Mm-hmm. And that is the glory of all of the arts, which are, as you know, celebrated by the Arlington International Film Festival. This is a great example of the fact that the festival goes way beyond the cinema in terms of both promoting and recognizing, in your case, to the tune of cash money as well. Congratulations for that. I'm sure you can use it.
Yeah, definitely.
But recognizing just that conversation that happens between all of the arts. So glad that you were part of it, part of that conversation this year. I hope that we will see you at the festival itself.
Yeah, definitely.
Sometime in September, October of this year, and we look forward to that and congratulate you for sure with this. And you know, we'll be looking to see where your future takes you in this world that you've clearly mastered certain elements of already.
I don't know about that.
No mastery yet, huh?
Yeah, but I'm definitely working hard to establish myself. So
great, and I know that that's going to be some combination of whatever's practical and you can make a living with, and then also pursuing your artistic vision. So best of luck with all of that.
Thank you so much.
And again, congratulations.
Thank you.
I've been talking to Rico St. Paul. Again, he's a junior at Mass College of Art and the creator of the poster you see behind us and that you will see all over the place in the coming months. We will look for you also at the Arlington International Film Festival this fall, and thank you for joining us today. I'm James Milan, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.